A team of scientists is looking to unravel the mysteries of the big cats. Here in South Africa, they're on the trail of her most formidable felines.
It really is the front line where the action goes on, where these animals have got to protect their territories.
And in London, they'll be dissecting a lion alongside a tiger. They want to find out whether they're actually the same animal, but under different skins. They want to learn how they roar.
I think there's about a 5% chance that this is going to work.
And they want to see the powerful anatomy that makes them such extraordinarily successful predators.
So what we have here is a nice soft pussycat paw. But when this animal wants to, it pops out the switchblade. And here we have the danger zone.
Join us as we go deep inside the big cats.
That is a truly fearsome sound. If I was on my own here now, I would be absolutely terrified. It's so loud, it kind of reverberates through your body, and it does the job he intends it to do, which is to tell everybody, and certainly every lion in the area, most importantly, he's the boss. This is his patch. And if I was another lion, I'd be leaving.
The roar is a defining feature of big cats that separates them from their smaller domestic cousins. The mystery of how and why they make this thunderous sound is one of the first things the dissection team will investigate. This lion and tiger, who both sadly died in British zoos, have been brought here to London's Royal Veterinary College for a post-mortem. A team of anatomists will look under the skin of these mighty predators to reveal how they work. Biologist Tecumseh Fitch has a special interest in how animals produce sounds.
That larynx is going to be right near the surface.
Yeah, I can feel it here.
You can get it?
He shares this obsession with another vocal enthusiast, Joy Reidenberg.
Scalpel.
Oh, thank you.
She rarely passes up the opportunity to investigate the larynx of a new animal. They're both trying to understand how big cats roar.
The anatomy of this animal is actually much more similar to that of a human being than it is to that of a domestic house cat. So while in most respects this animal is very similar to a pussycat at home, in this respect, these big cats, the roaring cats like tigers and lions, are actually quite unique in a way that's very similar to that of our own vocal anatomy.
The domestic cat makes its purring sound by vibrating the vocal cords in its larynx or voice box. The lion's larynx is much bigger, and it sits lower down the throat, just like ours.
The larynx is here. This is the top of the larynx right there.
Yeah.
Just to give you a sense, if you were holding a human voice box, mine would be about this big. Okay, so look at this thing. These muscles, when they tense, they pull the whole apparatus down like that. So what this does essentially is elongates the distance between the vocal folds here and the mouth of the animal. That long tube, the longer the tube is, the lower the frequencies are. And the lower the frequencies are what gives the roar this very impressive, large sound.
When a lion roars, it extends the vocal tract like a trombone slide, using muscles that pull the larynx towards the ribcage. How the lion produces such an unusually loud, deep roar has never been fully understood. Tecumseh has seen similar anatomy in many other animals, but this is the first time he's looked down a lion's throat.
Attaching somewhere down on the sternum.
To trace back the muscles that pull on the larynx, they're forced to cut through the rib cage.
I want to get in here and see what's really going on. Jesus, look at this. It just keeps going. I can't see how much further it goes. So here's the first rib, second rib. It's definitely below that. It looks like it may be between the second and the third rib.
Just what have you found?
The muscles that pull the larynx down are attached much deeper than I've ever seen in any other animal. And they seem to go halfway down into the chest, which would enable it to pull the larynx down much further than we would have thought was actually physically possible.
I have never seen anything like this. So all the animals I've dissected, these muscles attach at the top. They don't go all the way down.
Yeah, here it is. I can't believe this. We're making a scientific discovery on TV. That never happens, does it?
To fully understand these big cats, Mark and Joy will be doing observations and experiments in the wild. In Africa, they're joined by lion researcher Paul Funston.
Whoa, that was really scary. He was right behind us. He was right next to us.
Right close by,
Not being able to see him and to hear him that loudly right behind us. It was very scary. How far do you think that sound would carry?
Well, a human ear can hear it at about 4 or 5 kilometers, depending on the terrain. So lions probably can hear it a bit further than that, 8, 9, 10 kilometers.
So when you hear this roar at night, you can't see who's making it. Basically, it sounds like a great big thing. And by pulling it just a little bit lower, it can sound that much bigger, that much more fearsome, and thus defend its territory that much more effectively, or perhaps attract mates that much more effectively. So it's a beautiful example of a gradualistic Darwinian adaptation where it looks like at least this individual lion has figured out a trick, a dirty trick to enable it to go even further than an ordinary mammal would.
The big cats evolved roars to help them defend large territories. So how would a lion react to the sound of an intruder? At Velgevonden Game Reserve in South Africa, the scientists are setting up an experiment to find out.
Watch this thing, it can tend to smash fingers as it rotates.
We've got one of the male lions behind us in the road, and back behind us over there in a tree we've set up some loudspeakers to play another male's roar, a roar from an intruder male that could be coming in here to try and take over his territory and see what happens.
Paul has built up an impressive collection of roars from recordings in the wild.
So is it more of a stay away or more of an invitation, I want to challenge you?
I think it's primarily a stay away, but there's the second roar coming. But it's also a challenge. So the tape is set up to sort of simulate a typical bout with gaps every 3 to 4 minutes between each roar. Bout would normally comprise about an hour or so, telling the females that they're around and telling any other males in the area, you know, that if they did want to potentially have a conflict, that this is where they will be for the next hour and a bit.
They can make an appointment to come visit
Well,
them?
basically, they could make an appointment to come visit them, sure.
He just doesn't seem that bothered by this at all, and he looks over towards the speakers, but you know, he's not going over there to investigate, which could mean all kinds of things, lots of explanations potentially for it. Maybe because it doesn't sound to him like a real roar. It may be that he's just supremely cocky, and he goes, don't care. Of course, he could be deaf.
Perhaps there's another reason. He's one of 2 brothers guarding a rhinoceros carcass. A few days ago, this rhino was struck by lightning, and they've been feeding off it ever since. So he's probably reluctant to abandon a rather maggot-infested lunch.
So we're going to change the sound to a buffalo calf in distress, so a prey call, and see if he is more motivated by hunger than defending his territory. He's now a pretty confused lion because he's come all the way here. He's now trying to work out this kind of alien tripod arrangement that sits here.
So we know there's 2 lions out there, and they would be hearing the call of 1.
So he's now making the contact call.
This call is to attract his coalition brother to see what's going on. It's one of 9 distinct sounds they use to communicate. Back in the dissection room, Tecumseh wants to see the lion's larynx in action by trying to make the dead lion roar.
So you're just opening the trachea, yeah?
Yep.
How optimistic are you that if we blow some air through here, we're going to actually get it to work?
There's about a 5% chance that this is going to work.
So pretty optimistic then. That's one big windpipe there, isn't it?
Yeah, sure is.
Okay, so compressed air is what we're going to put through there then?
That's right.
I like your confidence there.
Well, I'm just going to do a little test thing right now and to see. Okay.
That's vibrating. I can feel that vibrating.
Okay, this is looking pretty good. I think we have a chance.
12%?
I'll go to 20. All right, here we go. This has never been done before. Never will be done again. Yes! Okay. So now we're going to move the larynx back, so hopefully we'll be able to hear the roar getting deeper. Ready to hear the difference? That works.
By pulling the larynx, Tecumseh's shown how the lion makes its roar sound so terrifying. And as we're going to find out, there's good reason to be frightened. The dissection team are about to start work on the tiger. They want to investigate how these big cats are built to kill.
But it's interesting, isn't it? When you pull back the legs here, you go from, yes, you can imagine this being camouflaged within a jungle or kind of tree setting, but this, all this white, is like sticking up a huge great flag, isn't it? As soon as you start running to something, or you see just masses of white underneath, is that not a bit of a giveaway?
But when they're still in the forest, you've got the dappled light coming through the trees, and you won't see the tiger. You could probably walk up to it and fall over it before it, you'd notice it, because they just completely blend into the background. Whereas cats that live in open country like the lion tend to have uniform coloured coats because that helps them blend into their environment better.
And the stripes, is that a relatively recent thing from an evolutionary point of view? Or?
Well, we don't really know. Some people think the striping pattern has evolved from a spotting pattern over time. And obviously, we haven't got skins from many, many thousands or hundreds of thousands of years ago.
Cats mimic their habitats with an impressive array of coats. But they've all evolved from a single ancestor. 60 million years ago, a new group of mammals emerges on the tree of life, the carnivora, and it soon splits into 2 key branches. The dog-like animals, bears, seals, and true dogs, and the cat-like animals, meerkats, hyenas, and the true cats. The lion and tiger branches split apart about 4 million years ago. Today, these big cats look very different from each other on the outside. But how different are they really? With their skins removed, they're virtually indistinguishable, testament to their shared big cat heritage.
Welcome.
Lions and tigers are the same under the skin. From Siberia to the savannah, the cat body plan is almost unchanged. An evolutionist like me loves to look at a group of animals which is just a sort of slight variation on a body plan. In the case of cats, we've got the small ones that hunt mice and birds, medium-sized ones like lynxes that hunt hares, and then large ones like lions that hunt antelopes, wildebeest. Unlike the dog family, like wolves, which chase down their prey, run down their prey over a long chase, cats are stealth hunters. They stalk, they sprint and pounce.
But whereas the tiger's a solitary hunter, lions hunt in groups. Both hunt over large territories. At Velgevonden, they use radio collars on the lions so they can monitor their movements. David Powery is the conservation manager here.
I'm moving this antenna around. You can see the back 2 points is longer than the front 2 points. So basically it comes down to trigonometry. It creates a triangle, and the direction as I move around and I pick up a beeping sound, it gives me a fair idea of which direction she is in. So if I point it in a direction, I pick up a signal, I'll move around slightly just try and pinpoint her direction. And then with the GPS collar, she downloads roughly about twice a day to give us an idea of where directions is, movements, etc., etc.
And what kind of distance is this working over?
Roughly about 1 kilometre would be a fair distance to try and find it.
But this is a pretty big reserve, so is it still a bit trying to find a needle in the haystack?
Absolutely, yeah. With 36,000 hectares, needle in haystack is very much the thing. But like same as humans, lions is animals of habit. They like to frequent the same areas at the same time. So hopefully we can try and track her down in the way and see where she is.
When you come over a ridge like this, you get a real impression of just how vast this area is. One of the territories on the far side, about 65 square miles.
Surprisingly, just 17 lions live inside this entire reserve. Only an area this big can contain enough animals for the lions to hunt and eat.
This is a massively important food resource, and this is classic. Look at the little one at the back, the little calf, very vulnerable to a lion predator that will pick these off for lunch.
The first stage in the anatomy of the kill is the stalk. Fur coats keep the big cats as hidden as possible during the day, but they prefer to creep up under the cover of darkness. This hunting strategy demands perfect night vision.
The eyes are very unusual because unlike human eyes, they have a very reflective part in the back of the eye. This is a full eye here, and this is an eye that's been cut in half. And as we look inside, this is the lens. You can pull that out right here. That's the lens, and they use that for focusing. And in the very back of the eye, you see this green area right here. That's used for reflecting the light. So these animals are very good nocturnal hunters because at night, when there's very little light around, they need to amplify that amount of light. So the light that comes in is then reflected off that surface and gives them a better ability to see at night. And you can actually see this if you shine a light at a cat in a dark alley. You'll see those eyes shine back at you. It's the same thing.
While some prey animals have also evolved glowing eyes to help them spot lurking predators, cats' eyes have developed other advantages.
And you see the cornea in the front, which sticks way out, which gives them the ability to see wider around. In fact, they have binocular vision because their eyes are pretty close to the front of their head.
Whilst a herbivore has its eyes on the side of its head, allowing it to see who's behind, a lion's eyes both point forward, better for judging speed and distance as it focuses on its prey. Now the lion enters the next stage in the anatomy of the kill, the chase. The lion relies on massive muscles attached to almost free-floating shoulder blades that give it a long, powerful stride.
Got the edge of the scapula there. If we can try and move that. So you've got from here, it could move forwards. That's incredible. That's about 15 centimetres or more. I can move it. Look at that.
So that's just going to really increase that stride length that we were talking about.
Okay.
So if you can move that scapula, you're going to be able to stretch that foot that little bit further forward to be able to grab and catch their prey.
This loose attachment is also why a cat's shoulder blade visibly protrudes when it stalks prey. Try doing this with your own arm and you'll wrench it out of its socket.
If you were jumping on a wildebeest or something, you'd need to be able to do that, and this muscle would help pull all this round to be able to grab it.
Yeah.
But I mean, through here, there are loads of individual muscle groups.
Yeah.
All of them end up connecting to this incredible network of tendons that go out to the digits.
Yeah, and you can see right down here that this muscle here is just running straight into the tendon.
So we've got one muscle there that starts back here where it's attached.
Yeah.
Has the muscle running down, then into tendon. And so that is...
It's all these ones just here. So that's going to extend and splay out the toes.
So I'm doing nothing now but holding its radius and ulna here. And then if I pull on this muscle and on the tendons, that is the action it's doing.
It's these tendons that transmit the power in the arm muscles into a vice-like grip.
So when that muscle contracts, it looks like a tiny little muscle. It's doing that.
It's run, 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 kill, and that's all it needs to do with its forearms.
Story.
Nothing illustrates this better than this video clip from India of a tranquilizer darting expedition that missed its target. The victim lost 3 fingers, but he was lucky to escape with his life. When the rangers at Velgevonden Game Reserve dart their lions, they leave nothing to chance.
We've got signal.
David has located the lioness he was looking for earlier.
One basic thing for tonight is safety first, please, everybody. At all times, stay within the confines of the vehicles. Do not stand up, because you'll single yourself out. These lions are going to be agitated, especially once the dart is in. That lioness is going to be in pain. The other lions are going to react. So at all times, please stay within the vehicles and only move forward once called.
The lioness needs to be darted so her old radio collar can be replaced.
Any questions from your side?
No, cool. Okay, let's get on with it.
Let's go and enjoy it.
To draw the pride of lions out of the bush, they tie a dead wildebeest to a tree. But a curious cub seems more interested in the video camera than the food on offer. The lioness soon wanders out into the open to check on her mischievous youngsters.
Okay, what is it called? Okay, go for it.
After a few minutes, the dart starts to take effect.
If the lions do approach us, just stand next to the vehicle
2, 3, go. Whoop.
Before they replace the lioness's collar, the team has to quickly move her away from the other lions, for her safety and theirs.
Okay. What's that hit?
Yeah.
Down, baby. Yeah. 1, 2, 3. That's okay. Okay.
Mark is a vet and has handled plenty of domestic cats, but he's never been this close to a wild lion before.
This collar, you want to make sure it stays in place. So if it's too tight, it'll stick on the side of the neck. Too loose, it'll come off the neck.
How long will this last?
Roughly about 18 months.
Okay. And it doesn't bother them at all. As soon as she's woken up from this, she had the one on before.
Doesn't seem to bother her.
Doesn't care.
No.
Whilst the female is still sedated, Joy and Mark can take the opportunity to examine her killing anatomy up close. They should have an hour before she wakes up.
She's obviously feeding.
Massive muscles, too. This is the shoulder blade here.
Yeah.
This is the arm, humerus, forearm, wrist, and all the way down to the fingers, including these nails that are really incredible.
Yeah, they're massive, and the dew claw is really important as well. I mean, that's around here that you don't see so easily, but look at the size of that. That's absolutely massive, isn't it? I mean, if you ended up as a prey animal with those stuck in your skin, you don't stand much chance at all, do you?
What's the function of a dew claw?
For just, I mean, use for hanging on when you're grappling with something, but also, I mean, it's almost like using it like a thumb. Because when you're getting hold of things, you see this in pet dogs and cats, but, they'll get hold of things and they'll actually stick the dew claw in as a way of fixing something to be able to then, eat it or chew on it. So it's a really, really important part of their anatomy.
So this is like a big...
Like the lion's other claws, the dew claw is usually kept hidden away. This ensures that it stays razor sharp during the chase, only emerging as the final attack is launched.
So what we have here is a nice soft pussy cat paw. Looks very cuddly, but when this animal wants to, it pops out the switchblade, and here we have the danger zone. If we turn it around and look at the other side of the animal, we can see the anatomy involved in retracting a claw. If we pull on this muscle from the top, we see that the whole toe moves upward. From this position, we can pull it up, just like a marionette. And then we can also pull it down with this muscle's tendon, which is coming underneath the foot, and that pulls the toe down. And we can wiggle that finger back and forth, just like we wiggle our fingers back and forth. But what we can't do is take our nail and protract it out to make the claw stick out. Our nail is always stuck here. But if you hold this in tension and at the same time pull from the muscle on the bottom, what happens is the claw protracts out. That's called protraction, when the claw sticks out like that. The natural rest position is here in retraction. But when they want to stick it out, they have to pull on both of these muscles at the same time to cause the switchblade to pull out. And then you get this very long extension of that claw. And that's the weapon. That's unsheathing the sword for these guys.
It looks just like a human hand, doesn't it? All mammals, in fact all land vertebrates, have a very similar hand, all descended from a common ancestor. What's happened is that the skeleton has remained the same, but what's changed is the shapes and the sizes, the relative proportions of the bones. A bat wing is also a hand, a mole's spade is also a hand. The skeleton's remained, but the bones have changed.
The big cat's paws with their deadly claws can bring down the largest prey. It's now time for the final act in the anatomy of the kill. The dissection team wants to examine the big cat's deadly bite.
This is the tiger.
Actually, I'm not sure now. What have we got?
This is the tiger.
That's the long one, yeah.
And
okay,
this
I've
is
got
the lion. This is the lion.
Yeah, so the similarities between these really big cats become really striking, and part of that is just about its size. people have debated quite a bit which one is larger, a lion or a tiger. The fact is, actually, they're about equivalent. The biggest tigers and the biggest lions are about the same. And you can really see that. It's quite striking if we open up the jaws. It wouldn't be that different looking into the mouth of a lion and looking into the mouth of a tiger. Another very impressive and sadly extinct animal is the saber-toothed cat.
And this is the tiger.
Just look at the difference in the canines between these two animals. These, again, think about the killing bite that would be possible with a set of canines like this.
It's interesting that it restricts the gape of the mouth. Even though you can open the mouth quite a bit on the saber-toothed cat, the actual distance that's open between the ends of the canines on top and on the bottom is very tiny.
So if
it's
this
not
guy
a very large distance.
tried to get Joy's arm, I want your arm. Even with the mouth open that far, could barely get in there. So it's probably more likely that he would do something like this. Wait, don't bite me. A stabbing motion rather than a biting motion.
Whereas this one can easily get you.
Yes, this guy could
No
get
question.
my arm.
When a lion closes its jaws around the windpipe of large prey, like a wildebeest, it will hold the bite for 10 minutes or more before its victim dies. In South Africa, Mark and Joy have a chance to study the anaesthetized lion's head.
But teeth-wise, that's a pretty good mouth, apart from those lesions on the tongue. You do get a sense of how rough this is for grooming and stripping meat off. But muscles in this head to be able to kill and also to rip the pieces of meat that it needs to eat off the carcass, absolutely massive. If you try and lift this head, this is an enormous weight in here.
The thing that's really striking about this animal's head are these gigantic muscles, these vast muscles. On us, if you look on the side of your mouth, this thing is the equivalent of this muscle. This muscle on us also exists. It's this tiny little thing that you can kind of see tensing, but it's just a little sheet of muscle in comparison to this muscle.
Can you imagine the huge power in the muscles to be able to direct these canines right through the neck, the killing bite?
So these would actually puncture into the flesh and tear it.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. And can be directed. They're very, very sensitive, the tips of these, so they can guide the canines through into the vertebrae and between them to crush through the spinal cord. So incredibly sensitive, the tips of these canine teeth.
Once he's down to the business of turning this prey into a meal, it goes into scissor mode. So these are these cutting teeth. These are called carnassials, and they basically are quite sharp. They have a sharp edge. So two blades are in close contact so that they're really rubbing up against one another and slice very neatly and very effectively through a piece of tissue. But you don't really want these making contact when you're making that killing bite. You don't want to have them run up against each other and perhaps even shatter the tooth.
If the sharp back teeth come into contact when a lion makes its powerful killing bite, the result would be a dental disaster. It's overcome this problem by evolving top and bottom jaws that are out of alignment as it bites. And when the lion needs to eat, the jaws slide against each other to slice like a pair of scissors. The anesthetized lioness is ready for the antidote to wake her up. Mark and Joy return to the dead wildebeest that was originally used to lure the lions out of the bush. They hope to see those carnassial teeth in action. Eventually, a hungry male arrives. But he senses something's wrong with this easy takeaway meal. He's right.
If you look underneath his belly, you can see there's a ridge running underneath the belly there. And there's a flap of skin called the lingual fold. And so basically that skin is folded in like this. And as the lion engorges, the skin folds open. So it allows the stomach to distend.
Wow. So that's an adaptation for filling the belly to engorged. They can eat about 30% of their body weight in one sitting, so 50, 60 kilograms of meat.
To survive, big cats need other animals to satisfy their high-protein diet. In the African bush, every animal must extract energy from the food they eat. They've each evolved a different strategy. Lions may be at the top of the food chain, but are they the most efficient eaters? To find out, Mark and Joy are going to conduct a rather smelly experiment.
Looks like we got some elephant poo right here. Okay, let's get a sample of this.
Joy's hot on the heels of the herbivores. Elephants eat more or less anything in their path, and what goes in determines what comes out. Giraffes, on the other hand, are fussy eaters, delicately stripping off only the freshest acacia leaves, and producing droppings a rabbit would be proud of. Mark has drawn the short straw, the king of the carnivores. It eats only every few days and is reputed to produce some of the smelliest specimens in the bush.
That is absolutely perfect. Not only a magnificent sight of it walking past, but the fact that it chose to do a dump right there is just brilliant, because when it's gone, I can go and pick it up.
I can smell it from here.
That's not good. If you get a nice big bit there. I think that's going to be plenty, David.
Yeah.
Back at the lodge, the team has set up a dung lab. Burning the samples in a bomb calorimeter, animal physiologist Eddie Webb measures how much heat is produced.
Temperature is 2.57.
Which tells him how much energy each animal has extracted from its food.
Okay, so in terms of energy of the food goes in compared to energy in the feces at the end of digestion, how are the test results coming out?
The wildebeest extracts about 40% of the energy ingested, compared to the zebra that extracts about 50%.
How does the lion sample compare?
Compared to the zebra and the wildebeest, it extracted about 60 to 70% of the energy from the meat, which is very effective.
That's incredibly high, very efficient.
The vegetarian diet requires large labyrinthine guts, as the team found in a previous elephant autopsy.
Can you stand back, please?
Yet they're surprisingly inefficient at extracting energy from their food. So what's the secret of the big cat's guts?
When you compare it with like a herbivore, which has an incredibly complicated digestive system, this actually is just very simple, isn't it? We've got stomach and a whole load of pipe work to do all the absorption, and then to produce feces at the end. End of story.
Yeah, but because meat's so easy to digest, you don't need a very long tube to digest it in. So compared with a herbivore, this is a very, very short gut.
And that's a function of being so high up the food chain, that your food is already pretty well processed from the difficult to digest stuff which the herbivores have already done for you.
Lions spend most of the day sleeping after feasting on a kill. It seems like the perfect strategy. As meat-eaters, lions let their prey's guts do the hard work of processing low-energy food. That way, the lion stays lean and mean, building up powerful muscle to hunt down their prey. But lions don't always have it their own way. Only 1 in 5 attacks is successful.
Lions and other cats are superb killing machines, but of course they don't always succeed. They don't always make a kill. Antelopes, or whatever their prey are also superb running away machines, superb escaping machines, but they don't always escape. That's exactly what you'd expect, that there would be some failures on both sides. And there's actually an additional reason why you might expect a slight imbalance in that evolutionary arms race. You can express it in the words of an Aesop's fable. The fox is running for its dinner, but the rabbit is running for its life.
So far, the dissection team has revealed that under their skins, lions and tigers have virtually identical anatomy. But there are key differences that can't be understood by dissection. Tigers and most other cats lead solitary lives, whereas lions live in unique family groups. The team now wants to investigate the anatomy of the pride. These family groups probably evolved to help lions take down large prey and to defend their territories. It's resulted in a complex hierarchy.
Below us is the location for some extreme turf wars between lions. We're flying over one territory now, held by a coalition of 2 huge, magnificent males. But the boundary between their territory and the next one is this valley down here in this river system. On the other side of that valley is another territory held by a coalition of 2 other, younger males. And it really is the front line where the action goes on, because their territory is where they get their food and they get their mates to be able to reproduce.
Mark and Joy go back into the territory to try to find the pride that they tracked for the darting mission.
About 2 o'clock, straight over here, David.
The mother, whose collar was replaced, is back with her cubs. But as usual, the males are away on patrol. The males form bands of brothers who work together to defend their kingdom against rival males from neighbouring territories.
There, under the tree here. Stop there. There they are. There's our 2 males. They are the kings of this place. Absolutely awesome. God, look at the testicles on that. How does this guy fit into the male coalition and the whole pride?
He's the big male, as we call him, the Induna, or the boss around here, or main peanut in the packet. But he's the dominant male, and he'll actually mount the other male sometimes as a show of dominance over the other male.
Wow.
Which is quite unusual.
And how old do you think he is?
He's roughly about 8 years old, so he's in prime of his life. But at this stage, he's separate from the pride, so assume these 2 males are busy marking their territories. They're busy going around the entire boundary, making sure there's no other males in the area, quite often vocalizing a lot, telling other male lions that this would be their prime area, and marking territories by defecating and spraying their urine on bushes to mark their territory.
All cats spray urine as a form of territory marking, saying who's been where and when. And if we look at the anatomy, the big male cats have got a big advantage in terms of their penis and which direction it points. If we have a look here, I mean...
Let's reveal the King of the Jungle's crown jewels.
Actually, it's all very small, isn't it?
It is very small, very compact. And normally, of course, it just sort of hangs down and points backwards quite naturally. And so when it wants to spray urine, it goes in the right direction.
Do you want to dissect down here a little bit? Because a lot of it's hidden round through the pelvis, isn't it?
A lot of what would become engorged is actually hidden away there. And it's the shape of this thing when it's engorged which helps it push forward in the right direction for mating.
So normally, when it would be spraying, it would be kind of like that.
That's right, yeah.
As it gets engorged, it's then moving round into a position like that for reproduction.
Yeah.
Successful dominant males will mate for 30 seconds every 30 minutes, sometimes for 4 consecutive days. They leave nothing to chance in their effort to ensure they pass on their genes. They know they may have to fight off younger males looking to start their own pride. Across the river, on the other side of the Velgevonden Game Reserve, is the rival male coalition. They're still guarding the rhino carcass.
Is that the bark?
That was the bark.
Yeah.
Tail fletching, ears back. Just a slight warning. These are 2 young male lions, 2 different mothers but the same father, roughly about 5 years old. They've taken over this territory in the southern part of the reserve roughly about 2 months ago. As you can see, very young males. Manes looks like they haven't shaved for about 2 weeks. But up and coming, they're also starting to get a bit more dark. You can see the one's got a darker mane than the other. Normally that's a sign of dominance. The more darker the mane, the more dominant he is.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. There have been studies done where the darker mane is attractive to the females. They check it out first, so it must have a really important role to play.
In a bizarre experiment carried out in the 90s, scientists introduced stuffed lions with different coloured manes to see which one attracted the lionesses. Dark manes are a sign of increased testosterone. Even though they can't have smelt that convincing, the females were still attracted to the dark mane. And even this male approaches his stuffed rival cautiously.
And this is almost certainly a good example of what Darwin called sexual selection as opposed to natural selection. Sexual selection means that males, in this case, are selected because of their success in out-reproducing rival males, often because they're more attractive to females, but sometimes because they're more intimidating to males.
Females need to choose the most dominant, dark-maned, testosterone-rich male for a very important reason.
In the cats, in the big cats in particular, there's a lot of male infanticide. If some intruding male comes in, pushes away the former dominant, the first thing he does is kills the babies, kills the young animals. So from the female's point of view, the last thing she wants is to invest all these resources in gestating a young, giving birth to her cub, and then at 3 months or 6 months, another male comes in and kills it. So what she wants is to ensure that she mates with a dominant male, with a powerful male that can keep the competition away. Therefore, she can have a pretty good chance that her cubs are going to make it to be old enough to avoid infanticide.
In the court of the Lion King, the young princes are initially vulnerable, until one day these young pretenders become strong enough to claim the throne. We've seen how the biggest cats in the feline family have adapted their anatomy to become dominant males, and how their paws and jaws have turned them into such formidable hunters. But here in Africa, lions have gone one step further by developing a really effective social system that ensures the survival of the pride. Long may these majestic beasts continue to rule supreme over their vast African kingdoms.